And I think there are some solutions people have found. There are some initiatives that people are working on. Som had some examples in, earlier, but without naming the company, but I also know what the company is referring to. But the fact is that these are very few companies in isolation. I think the key challenge we have is language and also culture. I think there's been fairly large amount of debate since morning on culture. Number of Japanese restaurants in India versus number of Indian restaurants in Japan too. Certainly, yes, there is a good mix of just not the economies, but also the social issues. But we believe that that's one of the big challenge that we have. A second one that is fairly serious is that Japanese have this good attitude of being perfectionists. There's no tolerance for even 0.01% error. And that too, there's no second chance. That's what we keep talking about to our people in our companies. And whereas even in the United States, there is something called a learning curve. That learning curve is a big challenge that we have seen in Japanese customers. And the third one is that the gestation periods, because Japanese believe in terms of building relationships. It's only after they feel extremely comfortable is then when we start seeing some amount of scaling. We'll come to a few examples of how scaling is happening. And a fourth challenge, I believe, is the Japanese model, which, pardon me if I pronounce it wrongly, but it goes as kiritsu, which is basically translated literally means it's a headless combine. People work together, they start investing in each other, small portions of money, and so they do work for each other. As a result of that, for an outsider to enter that system, there's a big wall, maybe you can call it Chinese wall in a Japanese environment. And the other challenge, I briefly said this earlier, is that the falling Japanese yen is creating trouble too. It's a big challenge for sure, because the other way of looking at it is, while we said Indian companies can find it favorable, but at one point of time what you realized is $25 per hour, just to give you a data point, is now down to about $17 an hour. You might always say that, look, are you not making enough money at $17 an hour? Maybe yes. But the fact is that with the dollar, I believe in November 2012 was at 82 yen to dollar. And it became 100 yen in 2013, 118 in 2014. Currently, as the numbers were yesterday, it was 123 yen per dollar. So therefore, that's the type of depreciation we saw in the currency, which makes it not so attractive as what it was in the past. What do I think about the way forward, therefore, as a result of this? Is certainly, yes, I think one example which has been fairly well documented, there's no harm, they're the largest company in the country, is TCS. TCS went ahead and created a relationship with Mitsubishi, went and bought their onshore center, their onshore center, everything got merged together. There's a 60-40 joint venture that they have. They have as many as 3,000 bodies on the ground in Japan. They also created a dedicated development center back in Pune with about 2,500 seats. And all the 2,000, I believe out of the 2,500, these are newspaper reports which talk about their 100 translators themselves. So the language barrier is being addressed, A, with having local Japanese talent of a large proportion. We're looking at onshore, offshore, which is in excess of 50%. And we're also looking at a large number of translators too. But that's one way we thought, we could move forward at this juncture. That's one good example, though I think last quarter was not a great quarter according to, again, newspaper reports. But I think by making sure that you have that barrier crossed in terms of language is one way of moving forward. The second one is that we need to definitely spend a lot more time in understanding the culture and the work ethic of the Japanese environment. If they say it's zero defect first time, zero defect first time. There's nothing else that you can compromise on. That cannot be compromised at this point of time. And certainly I think that is what many of the Indian companies are doing. And the third one that I have is that we should definitely look for long-term partnerships. But having said long-term partnerships, but at the same time, we have a number of examples, number of companies which have gone ahead and did long-term investments, include my own company. We still have to see the light at the end of the tunnel. We're investing and investing with the hope that there will be returns, But I think there is a challenge at this point of time, but the hope is still there. And the other thing that we have to recognize is that the type of services the Japanese companies are looking for, we talked about two of them, embedded software and application development and maintenance. But interestingly, I guess, more in terms of engineering R&D, which is yet another core strength for Indian IT companies at this point of time, which is basically computer design, computer manufacturing, computer engineering, and so on and so forth. Along with it, product development could definitely be areas of great interest between both the countries. Here, I think the advantage you'd also have is the language interface could be much lower because problem definitions could be a lot more crisper. The other one that I think as we way forward, I think I heard one of the speakers talking about it, is cooperation in education, so that we'll have more amount of people movement between both the nations. We have seen Japanese university, Tokyo University, now cooperating with IIT Hyderabad, and we've seen some amount of traction, not still big traction. As somebody said earlier, why would somebody go to a Tokyo University for his master's degree as opposed to US? I think some people are doing at this point of time. We've seen some of the IIT Hyderabad graduates going to Tokyo University. On behalf of NASSCOM, what we're trying to do is we put together a special interest group for Japan. Tomoro-san is also heading that particular group for us, along with another Indian counterpart. And we are certainly making sure that the Japanese companies who have their global innovation centers or in-house centers, they're called, they probably would have much easier way of doing business in India. We are increasing their investment and partnerships in India, as a result of which, the barriers for access becomes much lower. We are encouraging a number of parent companies to come and leverage the IT industry in India. We also are now creating a Japanese chapter on behalf of NASSCOM in Tokyo, with an intent of giving a little more push to these exports, reach to all the large service providers, and finally do more amount of partnerships by championing some of the success stories we already have with us. So these are some of the suggestions that I have. There's been a fairly large amount of effort that's been put in, but I think the success stories are few to me. And the success stories largely come from the fact that if they probably made those large investments in language, I think that is one way in which they've been in a position to address this marketplace. I'll stop there, and if there are any questions, I'll answer them. Thank you. Thank you very much. You have your presentation up there? Thanks, man.
Thank you. Good afternoon, and thank you, everyone. And let me talk about my journey to work for the world with India. And actually, I'm going to share some messages from Japanese who loves India. Yes, I love India, and let me prove that somehow. In Bangalore, I speak Kannada in this case, but this is in Delhi, so let me prove that in Hindi, and please bear me. Ajib dastan hai, kaha shuru kaha katan. Yeah, it's a Hindi song from 1960, and as I'm hearing a lot, I finally remembered this song. And please let me go ahead, not for the song, but for my presentation. Another slide, I created this slide for greeting, like namaste, namaskara, wanakam, salam, or whatever, and konnichiwa. Those lines shows exactly the same thing. As you can see the difference of the Hindi and the Japanese. At the same time, on the right side, you can see the bridge between those two different things. So, I'm finding several differences between India and Japan. At the same time, we can make some bridges between those differences. And what other differences? And of course, the population is different. You have much larger population. And young energy, large volume of talent, and the can-do culture. Anything can be possible in India. While I would say quality, accuracy, those are kind of things are strengths of Japan. Several other strengths from India, Like I have been watching a lot of movies, as I proved actually, and this is a famous line from Three Idiots: "You keep your job, and I keep my attitude." Raju, you remember Raju? Who wanted to be the engineer desperately, and finally he became overcome some difficulties and the challenges. And I'm in IT industry, so I'm seeing those kind of engineers a lot in India. I respect it, I love it, I like it, and I have been enjoying working with those engineers. And another aspect, the god Shiva, and innovation to me, he's a god of innovation to me, because no destruction, no fear, destroy the old and creating something new. It's an innovation, isn't it? Yeah. You have such kind of innovation kind of mindset deep inside of your mind. To me, it looks like that to me. And another strength from India, that is jugaad. I knew that some of you laugh at me. It happens every time when I speak about jugaad. Some Indians laugh at me, but let me explain a little bit about jugaad to some of my friends from Japan. That is, jugaad is a Hindi word to achieve the goal without requiring big budget or new expensive tool. Let's combine what you have. Let's achieve the goal. That's the philosophy of jugaad. And I respect it, and I think this is one of the strengths of India. Seriously, because Japan is not good at jugaad. Jugaad cannot pass the quality assurance test of Japan. So sorry to say this, but and some other country, with some strict regulation, you cannot think about jugaad. Otherwise, you will be arrested. I'm afraid. And so from that sense, you can do it, and some other people cannot do it. Then let's use it as one of strengths. That's my point. Let's look at the positive side of everything. Everything has a positive side and negative side, and so of course you can look at the negative side and to worry about the future or problem, risks, or those kind of things. But by looking at the positive side, you can use it as one of your strengths. That's my point. And on the other hand, Japan has some strengths of just in time. This is one example. In that country, 2 minutes is 120 seconds. I'm seeing something different in this country. So sorry to say this. I'm not trying to be offensive to you, but my point is, some difference between Japan and India. So let's combine such kind of differences to come up with something better and stronger. You see, to be innovative, one of the easiest way is to combine something different to come up with something better. So combination of Japan and India, someone told us that it's a natural partner. It's a very good combination of Japan and India. That's my point. And then let me talk about a little bit about Hitachi. Hitachi's ultimate goal is social innovation, including power, water, transportation, those kind of things. Social infrastructure. That's our business. And I have been talking about India, and unless I understand India, I cannot work for the society of India. That's one of the reasons why I'm working on and I'm learning India, and why I love India, those kind of things. And that's for business actually. And then next few slides shows my perspective, observation, or proposal, suggestion, or idea, where and why India and Japan to work together. And let me share some examples. And I'm aware that several initiatives are launched by Government of India. Amrut, Smart City, Housing for All. Those are fundamental things in the society. And another important initiative is Digital India. I like those combinations. To me, the top 3 initiatives, Amrut, Smart City, and Housing for All, are like fundamental social kind of things, infrastructure, by the leadership of government. And Digital India, it's for strengthening the strengths of India. Let's not worry too much about the weakness or problem like infrastructure, power, power outage, garbage, waste management. nobody is perfect. So of course there are several problems. But what is the strength of India? Digital. You see, you are the strongest country in the world regarding digital. Then let's use it. So to me, it's like that. So let's attract investment inside of India and also from outside of India by Digital India, and let's use that financial power for such fundamental things of AMRUT, Smart City, Housing for All. From that perspective, I think this is a very good combination. And also, those initiatives are there. So for Japanese companies, it's a very good opportunity. A huge opportunity is here. For Japanese company to expand their market in India. Let's see that. And I'm sharing that because actually I'm observing not many Japanese leaders are aware of those trends and the status situations. So I'm requesting you, Indian leaders, to educate Japanese leaders what's going on in India. That's my request to you. Otherwise, not many people know there is such kind of huge opportunities here in India. And another perspective, observation of mine, it's obvious to you, but many prestigious global companies led by Indians, Microsoft, Google, and SoftBank. So Indian ways are going to lead the global industry, IT and beyond. And several MNCs have built second headquarters in India, Amazon, Target, and so India is no longer a mere outsourcing resources to me. And exciting startup community is getting confident. Flipkart, Snapdeal, Mu Sigma, and investors are growing for India. And NASCOM and others are helping those communities. I lived in Bangalore for 3 years, and 4 years ago it was different. Even in Bangalore, many American leaders or Harvard professor kind of people are invited to Bangalore to talk about American way or how to deal with American customers, those kind of things. I saw that. But nowadays, not like that. Indian leaders step up to the stage and talk about the Indian way, and audience from India is also confident, or I can be like him, Yeah, I have seen several Indian leaders came to Bangalore and talk, and I witnessed those kind of excitement between stage and the audience. And again, this kind of situation is also not visible to many of Japanese leaders. So again, I request you to educate Japanese leaders to talk about how exciting Indian society is already, or still it's getting more and more exciting. So please educate Japanese friends. And then next few slides talk about how India and Japan to work together. Some examples based on my or Hitachi's experience. This is one combination. As I have mentioned, India and Japan have different set of strengths. India, young energy and passion, can-do culture, large volume, talent. Japan, quality, punctual operation, those kind of things. Let's combine it for the solution for the world. And the world is waiting for those combinations. That's my point. And one example of that combination is, Hitachi has been working with Indian partners even for offshore development for 20 years. Then in the course of 20 years, this is one example of a good combination of India and Hitachi. Let's say Hitachi come up with some expectation or requirement for a product or feature, expectation from our client. We need to develop one certain feature. Then we request the development of the feature to Indian partner. Then our Indian partner can start immediately. And 10 new ideas and latest technology can be proposed by those Indian partners. And some from the US, because we are very good connected with the US. And the 10 experiment projects can be started by many talented people. Those are combination of strengths, can-do culture, large volume talent, diversity. Those strengths are, utilized for those kind of activity. Then by those experimental projects, we can come up with, we can identify the best technology. Then Japan can perform our perfection, as Mohan-san mentioned, finest quality for the product. And so this is one example of combination of India and Japan. You see, India side, it's like R&D, research and development, you see. So this is one example of Japan and India. And another example, what Hitachi India is working on, one example is like we Hitachi visit our customers together to learn their expectations. After all, we need the Indian partners to learn about expectation from our Indian customers. Indian partners are much better at understanding their requirement. Then we do POC, proof of concept, by Hitachi and partners. Then after having proved that we can provide solution, we start designing, developing, integrating solutions by Hitachi and partners. So key point of this example is like it's beyond IT outsourcing. You see, it's not like order is here, please work on that. It's not like that. It's not a sales channel. It's not a hamburger model, one product for everybody. It's not. So in a sense, we have been working on a new framework beyond IT outsourcing. When we talk about relationship of India and Japan, some discussions goes like how we can increase our IT service relationship. So I'm not trying to be offensive, but language barrier, you see. But what I'm trying to do, or what Hitachi is trying to do, is to come up with or create or establish a new relationship. And the another key aspect here is, please find R&D here in Hitachi. We have an R&D team in Bangalore, and we are aware that solution developed in or developed for Japan or other country cannot be implemented, is not the best match for India because of different environment, different requirement, those kind of things are here. So we have R&D team in India to modify. In some cases, actually, we develop a solution from the scratch because the environment is so different in India. We understand it. So those kind of requirement capabilities here in India to work for India, that's another factor, important point of our collaboration between India and Japan. And let me tell you one example. As Mohan-san mentioned, NASCOM has established the Japan Council last year, April, 1.5 years ago. And chair is Takeshi-san from Sony, and I'm a co-chair for that council. And the goal is to for better and stronger connection of Japan origin companies in India, and also better understanding and more collaboration of India and Japan. As Mittal-san mentioned, currently it says 2%, but 1%, 2%, yeah, it does not matter, but the number is too small. 1% or 2% of IT export from India is to Japan. It's too small considering the size of the market or size of the potential. Then we have been working on that, so you are invited for that council for that purpose, and let me continue to work on that. And so this is my final slide in India, with India, for India and for the world. I took those pictures at campuses of universities and colleges, XLRI, SIIB, rural area, and in Andhra Pradesh, You can see the smiles, big smiles of Indian people. I enjoy working with India for the world and for India. That's it from my side. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tamura-san, for your... And we also learned something. They have humor, right? So, very interesting. Thank you.
I'm not serious.
So, very good. Thank you very much. And I think the kind of efforts that are being put in, right, are every day making those bridges that you spoke about. You have a presentation? So request, I'm sure all of you know Mr. Deepak. We have actually worked together. It's so good that he is now part of IT, because for us, when we worked with him in the past, he was India's ace negotiator with all the many deals. And were you also leading the Japan deal?
No.
No, that.
After that.
Please.
Ambassador Singh, Mr. Sob Mittal, Mr. Mohan Reddy, Tamura-san, distinguished invitees, ladies and gentlemen. It's indeed a pleasure to be in the midst of this gathering, and I'm delighted to be here. I do believe that enhanced India-Japan cooperation is an idea whose time has come. And therefore, I think this kind of a workshop is extremely timely, and I'd like to congratulate ICRIER for making it happen. The broad area which I would like to speak to you is the strategy for enhancing exports of IT/ITS services from India to Japan. India is broadly thought of as a large services economy. It's true that services continue to be the main driver of our economic growth. Make in India is something which is still work in progress, and manufacturing is a very small proportion of our GDP. 57% of GDP, 50% of FDI, a huge chunk of 28% of all employment, 33% of exports, 25% of trade. I mean, the figures say that services account for a whole lot of very impressive statistics in the Indian economy. However, I'd like to add an element of caution to this. It's not that we are a services superpower, as you may think from some of these statistics. Our strength in services is basically confined to skill-based services. Services which require huge investments like banking, insurance, etc., we are weak. My American friends even go to the extent of saying that India, as far as services is concerned, is a one-trick pony. You have just IT/ITS services. It's one services, and when we do negotiations at the WTO or bilaterally, they believe that it is such a small bandwidth of interest in market access that it can be easily blocked.